look at the lobby. Here we go. Right. Here we go. Morning, Stuart. Morning, Adrian. Morning, Bob. Morning, Charles. Thanks for joining. Morning, Adrian. If you've just joined, if you could mute, please, that would be great. There's a bit of background noise. That would be excellent. Morning, Podrick. Thanks for joining. Let's just mute a few people. Charles, if you could mute, please, that'd be great. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Welcome. Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay. So, yeah, thanks everyone for joining this morning's coffee morning. We are delighted to have Donna Fraser, Olympian, most amazing person, world champion, bronze medalist, and Commonwealth Games bronze medalist, and well, the list goes on. But we thought, as it would be great to get somebody outside the industry to come and join us for a session, because I think she is an amazing person. Today is all about introducing Donna, asking us some questions about her life and her career. And as you possibly all know, she's OBE, and the OBE was for D&I in the workplace, so we can cover that as well. As usual, Pension Playpen is being recorded, so Andrew, Adrian, Stuart, thumbs up, everybody, that you're happy to be recorded. Podrick, everybody's been recorded. Donna's happy to be recorded. She's been to hair and makeup already, so she looks amazing, which is great. There you go. In the TARDIS, that is her office. So there you go. And as usual, if you'd like to put any comments in the chat, please do. If you'd like to ask Donna a question at any point, please raise a hand. She won't bite. She's a lovely person. Yeah, it's not often you get the chance to talk to an Olympic athlete. Donna, delighted to have you on board.
Thank you for having me, and good morning, everyone.
Yeah, so there we go. So yeah, I've got lots and lots of questions, and obviously, as I say to everybody else, chip in if you'd like to ask questions as well. But I suppose, I don't know if any of you heard of the Giles Brandreth recent podcast he's been doing, but I'm going to ask you a Charles Brandreth question, which is, what was your earliest memory?
My earliest memory, I think it has to be when it was the heat wave in '76, running around the garden in my nappy, and that was it.
Wow, yeah. That was a hot one. It was a
hot one when the grass went yellow. Well, we're not far off there at the moment, are we?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, I think we were definitely on the road to beating that, I guess. Yeah, I think Faversham had the highest temperature, was it 36 degrees, which is a bit nuts, so which is good. So yeah, heatwave 76. Okay, so that's sort of that's one of your earliest memories. And what about your parents? Before we start sort of the serious questions, what about your parents? What is what's the history with your family and your mum and dad and that sort of thing?
Yeah, my parents came over from St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the early 60s. Like many Caribbean families, travelled over to the UK for a better life. And then the plan was always to spend a few years and then go back to their native country. But my parents stayed for some 50 odd years. They made a home, they had children, including myself. So they've only gone back. They went back to live again 2018. So not too long ago when they decided to return back to St. Vincent. So I think growing up was interesting. I'm the youngest of four girls. A big age gap between myself and the one before me, 10 years. So it was really bizarre. I always say, "You sure you're not my mum?" Because we were very, very close. And she said, if I'd had a child at 10 years old, Donna, I definitely wouldn't be alive today. So, yeah, very close-knit family. Again, when you have that Caribbean culture, the house was always full growing up, whether it was parties, garden parties, just family members coming round. Our house was very much that home where people flocked to, whether it's from advice from my father, because he was very much is still still, at 90 years old, the stalwart and the backbone of the family. So always words of wisdom. So having all girls in the house was very challenging for him, as he says now, but he wouldn't have had it any other way. But what I do absolutely remember is those core values and morals that they both instilled in their girls, you know, regardless of what stereotypes there were for women in that time. We could do anything we wanted to as long as we believed in what we wanted to do. So that's definitely something that stuck with me even to this very day.
Yeah, and presumably you have friends and family in St. Vincent, and you go and see them on a regular basis and
I
say
do. I
hi.
go, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely. My older sister lives there. She didn't come to the UK, so she lives there. And yeah, I have multiple family members that I go back as often as I can and afford. But also the fact that I worked for the St Vincent and the Grenadines Tourist Board many years ago, and that was definitely a tactical move, because then it was an opportunity to not only work in that space in tourism, but have the opportunity to go back to see family members.
yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So you were born in Croydon.
Yes,
So
born and
big up,
bred, proud
born and bred in
Croydonian,
Croydon, born and bred in
despite what the
Croydon.
news say.
Yeah, well, indeed. No, this is true. And I grew up in Croydon, as you remember, Donna. So I'm a Croydon lad myself.
We're flying the flag
Um,
for Croydon then.
yeah, big, but flying the flag for Croydon. Yeah, it's a very interesting place. So let's put it that way.
Yes, yes.
Um, so before we start talking about running, anything else about your childhood? Memories of growing up in Croydon? Is it Thornton Heath? I think you grew up in, but
Thornton Heath.
what was it like? Was it easy to make friends? Hard to make friends? School life? What went on in your childhood in Thornton Heath and that sort of area? Because sort of buzzing sort of 70s, I guess it was quite a crazy place.
Oh, it was. And you will remember because you're from that area, Thornton Heath Pond, when it was a pond. But yeah, very, very close community. I went to an all-girls primary school, and that really did set me up for who I am absolutely today. And you don't see it when you're that young. So going to an all-girls primary school, all female teachers, very much our headmistress, which I know they don't say it now, headmistress at the time was very much, regardless of whatever they say, you don't have to be in the kitchen 24/7. Do whatever you want to do. And those things really resonated with me. And then, of course, having the sport, which is where it all started for me, having the teachers believe in me, recognize the talent that I had, and having other girls in the team supporting me really pushed me forward. But there's so many memories of school dinners, which I always say were the best school dinners in Croydon. Everyone's like, no way, they were awful, but I absolutely love school dinners. They were homemade. You know, the minute you arrive at school, you're smelling the cooks in the kitchen cooking away, and I know that's changed a lot now. And you absolutely had to finish everything on your plate as well. Nothing could be left.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed out to play otherwise. But as I said, growing up, that close-knit family values that we had, every Sunday my dad would say, right, we're going out for a drive out, and whether it seemed like miles that I was driving, but it was probably just round the corner, but without fail we got an ice cream. And those are the days where you didn't wear seatbelts, so because I was the youngest, I'd sit on the armrest in the back seat. But
Oh,
God forbid if there was an accident, I'd go flying through the windscreen. But those are definitely the fun memories that I have growing up. And regardless of what was going on within my parents and the struggles that they had, we never saw that. It's only now I'm much older, I hear all the trials and tribulations they went through. But for me and my sisters and my siblings, we never saw that. We just remember fun times and happy life.
yeah. Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Um, so I suppose the bleeding obvious question, as John Cleese would say, is when did you start running? So let's talk about the very infancy, the start of your running. When did you start? Were you
It
five,
was.
six, eight? What
I
what
was
what
eight
what
years
happened?
old, 8 years
Yeah.
old at Winterbourne Junior School. As I said, went to an all-girls primary school, and Winterbourne had a great reputation of winning the relay shield at the Croydon schools, and that's something that we really held close to our hearts in always trying to win. So being part of a team bringing that shield back home and in assembly standing proud with the shield with our headmistress was something that we really did value. So yeah, I started at the age of 8 at primary school, and then was, as they say now, well, scouted, as it were, by a Croydon Harrier coach, who approached me and said, you know, you've got a little bit of talent. Why don't you come down to the club? But it wasn't a thing then. It was just a hobby. So my parents weren't very keen on me joining the club. They're like, no way, just focus on your schoolwork. That's what we want you to do, and become a doctor or a lawyer, whatever, but definitely not sport, because in those days you just didn't make a living out of sport. So my sister, thank goodness, she persuaded my parents to let me go, because believe it or not, I was very, very shy. But when I was running and out and about and playing sport, I was definitely coming out of my shell, and she recognised that. So persuaded them to let me join Croydon Harriers, and the rest is history.
And is Croydon Harriers still going as a club?
It is.
It
It is.
is. Oh, wow.
Yes, it's still there. I was there last week, Thursday. In fact, my
Oh, wow.
brother-in-law is now a coach there. So I try and go down to the club as often as I can, just to say hi and see some of the youngsters and hopefully inspire them to do great things on the track.
Yeah. So you do, I see talks and stuff there
Yeah.
about
And
your background, and
just
be
being
visible. Yeah.
visible. Yeah, just
Yeah.
going down, giving some hints and tips, just being available for any questions they may have. And because my pictures are up in the clubhouse, so when they see pictures and then they see the person, it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's quite nice to go down as and when I can.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you have your sister to thank for your career then, because you're probably right. I mean, all of us remember the 70s and the 80s. There was no money really in athletics,
No.
I guess. So, your parents were possibly fairly anti for that very reason. But thank
Yeah.
goodness your sister said, no, no, it's molding your character and bringing you out of your shell and making you a person that can, mix and mingle with other people, and it gave you confidence, I guess, Donna. That's
Absolutely. And all
pretty.
what you've said, Steve, is exactly that. It absolutely brought me out of my shell. I was put in circumstances where I had no choice but to speak to people. And even at the weekend, I went to the English Schools Championships in Birmingham, and they were celebrating 100 years. And that was when I really did start to elevate in my career. My first English schools was 1989, and we laugh now, and sorry, 86, not 89, in 1986, and we laugh now because representing Surrey, we had to stay with families, and it was whatever where the championships were taking place, families within that area came forward and says, yeah, I can take 2 athletes, or yes, I can take 1 athlete, whatever it may be. So you were staying with complete strangers. And I mean, now with safeguarding in place, there's no way that would happen now. But first and foremost, I'm grateful for those communities who step forward. But secondly, I had to make conversation with family, people I didn't know, and I had no choice but to come out of my shell. So it absolutely molded me, and not just from a physical perspective, but from a personality and confidence, as you say.
Yeah. And do you keep in touch with any of those families? Did
I
you
did
go?
for a while. I did for a while,
Oh,
and then we
wow.
lost
That's cool.
contact. And those are the days where there were no phones, so it was writing letters and cards, etc. And I think I miss that in a way,
Yeah.
because now phones have taken over, haven't they? Because
Yeah.
it's immediate access. But writing letters is so personable, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I do still have some of those tucked away in my keepsake box.
Wow. Well, yeah, the days of the pen pal has sort of disappeared, hasn't it? But
It has.
we now have the wonderful phone. Um, so another obvious question, when did you actually realize that you were good at running? Was it
it,
a cold Wednesday at Croydon Arena and you go, oh, I'm really fast?
it, it's it's that's such a really interesting question, because you never again, I grew up in a humble household, and my parents would always say never forget where you've come from, and don't be too big-headed and too bold and brash. So I would just get on and try and win every race that I could, and if I lost, then I'd congratulate the winner, etc. But I set my goals was to get to the Olympic Games, and that was my ultimate goal. And however I got there, that was definitely something that I'd hold close between me and my coach, of course. But when you never know if that makes sense until you achieve that goal. You keep pushing and pushing, and when you do achieve that goal, you set another goal. So it's not so much you thinking, yeah, I'm good, I'm great. Yes, inside, when you've run a really good race, absolutely you do. You feel good, but I never outwardly showed that and wouldn't show off about it. That's not the kind of person I am. So I think every milestone that I achieved, then it would be a little bit of a note to myself in my training diary. Well done, Donna. Keep up the good work. The next goal. So that's how it went. That was definitely my chain of thought.
Yeah. And you've got the training diaries now, have you?
I
Do you
do.
go back?
I
Maybe you should
do.
maybe you should publish them. Maybe memoirs of a
Oh my
of a of a of,
goodness.
of a lightning fast runner or
I'm
something
not
like that.
sure some of the language in there would be appropriate, to be honest, because when they were bad days, they were bad days.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And you might name and shame a few people, but
Well, yeah, definitely.
wow. So going back to those earlier days, did you have anybody that inspired you? Who was the
Yeah,
inspiration?
I had quite a few, in all honesty, and I still do now. Growing up, Jesse Owens was definitely a role model of mine. What he achieved in those circumstances was absolutely phenomenal. And my sister, she was a huge person that inspired me. She studied to be a dental nurse and then studied to be a lawyer, completely different vocation altogether. So seeing what she went through inspired me that anything is possible. My father as well. There's so many people that I meet that they inspire me in some shape or form, what they're doing, and it could be to them something really small but really big for me. But yeah, I not only get inspired, but I aim to inspire others as well, and what I do as much as I possibly can. But yeah, there's a number of people watching Linford Christie and Paula Dunn on TV, Sally Gunnell, Colin Jackson, all of those, and then being able to be on that same team as them was just like, oh my gosh, I was so starstruck that it was, oh my gosh, I remember watching them on TV. Now I'm on the team with them. So being able to go through that journey of being as inspired and then now inspiring is just been such a journey for me.
Wow. Yeah. And in terms of the bigger events, did you ever get nervous? Number one, did you ever get nervous? Number two, how did you deal with those nerves? If it was your first Commonwealth Games or European Games or whatever, did it, obviously you step up to a huge level. Did you get nervous?
Nervousness is a weird thing, and I describe it in two ways. There's good nerves and there's bad nerves. The good nerves is when I know I'm in good shape and I'm definitely going to perform well. There's bad nerves where I've either been injured, there's been bad preparation leading into that competition, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to get around this track in this race in one piece? So it really did vary, but the good nerves is more excitement more than anything else. It's almost that anticipation of what can I do today? So they calm down. It's so bizarre. I'd love to do I mean, now technology is very different now, but it would have been good to see my heart rate leading into walking out into a stadium, see what my heart rate was looking like compared to when that gun went. Obviously, your palpitations are going to go much higher because you're working hard, but literally the minute that gun went, the nerves were gone because you're focusing on your race pattern, what you need to do, who's in front of you, and staying relaxed, all those things that you practice in training to be able to deal with when you come to race.
Okay. And in terms of, when the gun goes, I mean, what was sort of what was the pinnacle? I mean, I know, obviously everybody probably on this call has Googled you. I mean, you've got Olympics, you've got Worlds, you've got whatever, in terms of the pinnacle, when you were in that sort of Linford Christie zone where you were mustard, do you remember that moment and enjoy that
Absolutely.
moment?
I remember it like it was this morning. It would be Sydney 2000, that Olympic final. That whole experience was, I could definitely write a book on that whole chapter, that whole chapter of my life. So that season, I was able to train with, I had a great opportunity of training with Kathy Freeman, who was the best in the world at the time and such a phenomenal individual. And we all do it. We put people on a pedestal. I put her on a pedestal. If she was number one in the world, of course she deserved to be there. But in fact, having that time with her through training behind the scenes, I realized that I could be just as good as her. Just how she approached her training, her mindset, how she trained, how she coped with pressure, all of that. I learned so much from her, and that I really did adopt that leading into Sydney. So Sydney was my second Olympic Games. I knew what to expect. I knew the how the system worked. So I wasn't nervous from that. It was more so what as I mentioned, the good nerves. What was I going to do? So those days they had 4 rounds of the 400 meters, and the first round qualified fine, second round qualified in a personal best to get to the semi-finals qualified for the final in another personal best. So I was improving through the rounds, which again, now I look back on it, I didn't embrace that. I was just taking one step at a time. So come the final, being in lane 2, which I absolutely hated, and then many people like lane 2. Many athletes prefer that because they can see everyone. I didn't. I thought the complete opposite, that I was going to stay in the zone, as you mentioned, Steve, and focus on what I was going to do. But I had Kathy Freeman on the outside of me. Now, in hindsight's a funny thing. I should have just followed her because I knew exactly how she competed. But I didn't. I did the complete opposite and was in that bubble where it's just me in Sydney in the Olympic final, nothing else, and no word of a lie. It was absolute silence for me when that gun went, and it wasn't silent. Obviously, if any of you watch it, the crowd was just going ballistic because it was in Australia, but the camera flashes, that's all I remember seeing. But I was absolutely in that zone. It felt, how can I best describe it, as I was floating around the first 200. My feet weren't really touching the ground. It wasn't until that last 200 when I looked up at the big screen, because in an athletic stadium you usually have screens at both ends on both bends, and I saw I was last in the Olympic final. And it was like, okay, wake up now, Donna, you need to start running. So yeah, I was in the best shape of my life at that point in time. I just didn't respect that I was in the best shape of my life, and I let myself down that first 200. And of course, it's 400 meters and I ran out of track. So coming fourth was devastating, to say the least. But at the same time, the kind of person that I am and is the fact that Kathy Freeman won, and she was my training partner. She helped me get to that point. I knew how much it meant to her to win an Olympics. And if you ever see, there's a photo of me and her looking up at the screen. She was the first person I congratulated. That photo went viral. People still show it to me to this very day. And I'm thinking, if you knew what was going through my mind, I mean, 50% of me, of course, absolutely over the moon for her, but 50%, I was definitely devastated by my performance.
Oh, fourth is well, number one. Fourth is amazing. Fourth at the Olympics is absolutely brilliant. But you must have been, just
Very.
so close yet so far. I mean, that must have been galling for you.
It
Galling.
was very
Wow.
frustrating. And the fact that my teammate came third, even worse. But, still, at least to see the British flag on the rostrum. I would have preferred it to be me, but hey ho, I can't blame anyone else but myself.
So are you superstitious then? What's your favourite lane? If your lane favourite is what, 6, 7, 8,
Well,
and
this
you'd
is
have run 6, 7, or
interesting.
8 in the final, do you think you've had a different outcome?
I do. I do. I don't like lane 2. Anything like 1, 2, 3, I didn't like. 4 outwards, I could cope with because I've got long legs. So the bends can be quite hard for me, especially in such a high caliber race. I mean, we train in lane 1 and 2. Everyone will say and argue that, but when you're in that high level of competition, you want to be in the mix. You don't want to have to work extra hard to make up that stagger. So in lane 4 outwards, I didn't mind. But through those rounds, I was in lane 7 and 8, where I could run my own race, stay relaxed. And they work in favour for my stride length as well. But I wouldn't have minded lane 6, 7, or 8 in the final. Maybe not 8, because you're running blind then. But hey ho, it's done now. I had lane
Sliding
2 and I
doors.
messed it
You
up.
can't get in a
Yeah,
DeLorean and go back, but it would be
exactly.
nice if you could. But there you go.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean, towards women in sport, then, and you've had, a fantastic career. Have you seen a big change in society's attitude to women in sport
Oh,
since you started
definitely.
and ended your sport? What changes have you seen?
Well, definitely won the kit, and that's number one for me. When I started out, often because of my height and the length of arms and legs, I had to have men's kit. They didn't accommodate for women's kit at all. And we've seen over the years the coverage of women's sport as well has just escalated, which is great. I now work in the world of cricket, and the women's game is absolutely on the rise. And not only that, but the attitudes of people watching women's sport as well has definitely improved, and accepting that women can play sport as well, and it's just changing. It will take some time still. We've still got a long way to go. But if you compare it to when I was competing, no, girls don't do that. They need to wear dresses and stay in the kitchen and all of that. Whereas now that narrative has changed, which is good to see.
Yeah, I mean, you now work for the Professional Cricketers Association, fantastic. But I think some of that sort of growth in women's sport must obviously come from, sadly to say, football. I mean, we're all football lovers. Obviously, the Euros is helping out and everything else.
Yeah.
Do you just find that women's cricket will just take time to catch up with ladies football, I guess? What's your
It
opinion about
will.
that?
It will
Yeah, yeah,
definitely. Women's football is way ahead of any other sports such as cricket for sure. So it's going to take some time. But even over the last year, we've seen some good changes. Some of the clubs, the tier 1 system, where you've got Surrey, as an example, Surrey men, Surrey women's, they're one team. So you're definitely seeing the change of language, the change of attitudes, and the visibility. But I think the women that we work with within cricket, they're not saying we want the same as men. It's not about that. They just want equity and the same access more so than anything else. So and a level of respect at the end of the day, that they're still able to play a good game, good quality game, and they've got that talent.
yeah. And actually, part of today is about diversity and inclusion. Does diversity and inclusion work in women's cricket? Are you seeing, obviously, white players, black players, Indian players? There's a big sort of gathering, because that it's a beautiful sport. Is D&I really taking off in cricket as well, in women's cricket, you think?
It's still not quite there yet. What we need to look at is that grassroots level, because it won't change at the top end just because now we're introducing D&I now. It has to start at that grassroots level, and it is happening. The ECB, as you all, if you are into cricket, may have seen the ICEC report that was published in 2023 with some key findings, what the ECB need to do. There were some 144 recommendations that they need to look at, and that's like getting cricket into state school, for example, to widen that talent pool a lot more. So it's going to take some time to start seeing those stats change. But you've got like the ACE program, you've got SACA, which is the South Asian Cricket Association as well. So there's more bodies around that are working on that, and then in time you'll start seeing a little bit of a difference in terms of what the England men's and women's team look like. But again, the work that's going on behind the scenes, absolutely. But the bottom line is, you want your best players. It's not just a tick box exercise to get numbers up. We have to think about that as well.
Yeah. Is there a world federation for women's cricket then yet, or are you going to create it, Donna, yourself?
Oh, goodness me. No, I'm not creating anything. We do have a World Cricketers Association, but look after all of the different country associations. So there's definitely a cohort for women. We're looking at women's health, because obviously men and women are different biologically. So there's a lot of conversations that are going on behind the scenes to make sure that the women are well looked after just as much as the men. But it's almost like a pigeon step approach. We just have to understand. But ultimately, the women also need to speak up and say, well, you know, this is my experience. Can things be done in this space? We can't just drum up, oh, we need to do this initiative. The women's game need to also speak up and say what needs to be addressed.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I suppose the other side of that coin, I guess, is, you know, what has not changed in women's sport, number one, and what would you like to see change going forward? I mean, there's obviously work to be done. What do you think is, you know, and perhaps we can wind the clock back to the 70s, 80s, 90s, or whatever. But what has not changed even now, and what would you like to change going forward?
Yeah, what has not changed? I mean, there's still some people who have the attitude that women shouldn't be doing sport, and unfortunately, we may not change those mindsets of those individuals. We can't change the world. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. So I think it's the case of accepting that we're not going to change people. Not everyone will be on that journey that it should be equal access, no matter who you are, what your background is, what you look like, how much money you have, because of course there's that socio-economic aspect as well that we need to think about in society now as well. So I think there's a bit of acceptance that there's going to be individuals that we won't change, but those who really want to but don't know how, this is where I come into, and myself and other EDI practitioners come in to help and support find that way to make things better. So it's those decision makers that we need to change the mindsets of.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good answer. That's a really good answer. So the end of the day, you got your OBE. Well, it says on Wikipedia and whatever it is, you got your OBE for D&I in the workplace. What's the backstory to that? What work had you done? What had you delivered? What had you recognized? What had you changed? What was your D&I story? To obviously, you know, congratulations and fantastic your
Thank
OBE.
you.
What was the sort of stories behind that, Donna?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So I was working at EDF Energy for 18 years alongside my athletics career. They were a great organisation to be able to allow me to work and do my athletics career. So when I finally retired, they kept my job open and opened it up to be full time because it was a part-time role in health and well-being. Um, and I stumbled across our employee networks, which I didn't even know existed. And there was the Women's Network, there was the BAME Network, there was the Disability Network, and there's so many organisations that have so many more now. And this, I was thinking, oh my goodness, I've been in the organisation for a number of years and didn't even know they existed. So I got involved with the BAME network, which is the Black Asian Minority Ethnic Network, just to see what work they're doing, and became their employee engagement lead. Subsequently, the chair left and passed the baton, excuse the pun, passed the baton to me and said,
Haha.
Donna, you'd be awesome at chairing the network. And for me, I changed a lot of things, that you did not have to be Black or Asian to be part of my network. If you could bring something to the table, had an interest in this space, what we wanted to do and achieve, you were welcome. And just by doing that, the network just grew overnight. There's a photo that I hold dearly to my heart of the team, and they're all shapes and sizes, all different colours, all different backgrounds, but they were my team. And you would not know if there was a director in that team. There was no hierarchy. We were there to really support our network, and it grew by 110%. We did different initiatives. We worked closely with the leadership team. It all stemmed back into the strategy of the organisation. How could we help EDF Energy be better, more inclusive, etc.? So that's how we really grew. Plus, we teamed up with some of the other networks, which the other networks weren't doing, because I'm thinking this is crazy that we're not collaborating the same issues we're talking about. There are Black and Asian gay people, there are Black and Asian disabled people. Why are we not working together? And again, that was another turning point. So that was the start of my journey. I then left EDF Energy and went back to my sport at UK Athletics as their EDI lead, and they hadn't had this role before. So I led on their program, delivered their diversity action plan, different initiatives. One thing that I'm really proud of was I delivered a coach project. It's literally called Coach. It was a photographic exhibition where we showcased Black and Asian coaches from all levels, but they were athletes themselves behind the scenes, just interacting with their athletes. So it told a story of what it's like behind the scenes, because we often only see the athletes. You don't see the coach behind the athlete. And then we did another edition with Women on Track. So showcasing women coaches, again, not particularly from any ethnicity, just different levels from from grassroots right through to elite level. And then, of course, when the murder of George Floyd occurred, I took a huge risk to reach out to athletics family, as it were, just to come together on a Zoom call like this, to have a conversation, to share experiences. What should we be doing better as an NGB, a national governing body? And I thought, honestly, Steve, that we just probably have 2 or 3 sessions. We ended up having 17 online workshops, people coming forward. There was no agenda, Chatham House rules, having that conversation. And out the back of that, we had some round tables, and it just grew. And then we developed a network within athletics. So I set up 2 employee networks, equality, race equality network, plus the first LGBTQ plus network within athletics, and they're both still going. So I'm proud to say that I started those, and they're still going. So from that, all that work that I was doing behind the scenes just came to fruition, and yeah, got the OBE.
Oh wow! Congratulations. That's a fantastic journey. Who gave you the OBE?
It was now King Charles. At the time it was Prince Charles, but now King. So I can safely say that I got my OBE from the King. But yeah, phenomenal day. I honestly, like they say, it's a bit like when you get married, you forget all about it and try and embrace the moment. And it was very much like that. It was like, pinch me, is this really happening? So yeah, it was a great day.
So you went up with family and friends, and then did you go for a meal or something like that, or
Well, because of COVID, I can only take one person. So
Oh no,
I only took my sister, the one that you've heard about.
the one you heard about,
And
yeah.
in a way, I'm glad, because that would have been difficult to choose who I'd take. So I took my sister, and she was immensely proud. So yeah, it was a great day.
Wow, wow. Well, congratulations. Absolutely,
Thank
absolutely
you.
fantastic. And what about charity work? I know that there's some comment about charities. I mean, obviously, you are a very well-respected athlete and OBE, and fantastic. Um, are you bombarded by charities saying, "Oh, could you come and sit on it? And could you be, president of this?" And what's your work in the charity sector, Donna? Is that something that's close to your heart as well?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I do get bombarded, but I'm not one to say, yes, I'll do something and actually not add value. It has to be something that means something to me, that I can make a difference. So I do a lot of work in charity, particularly breast cancer now, because I am a breast cancer survivor. Through my journey, I wanted to give something back. So I do a lot of work with them as an ambassador, whether it's talks, whether it's sharing my experience. And I'm also involved with 2 women kind of charities, Her Spirit, who get women into physical activity, and also Ashton Down charity, which is for young girls. It's particularly in my area of Croydon, that's where they're based, just to be a role model, give advice, and just hopefully put them on the right path, and give them that confidence that I lacked when I was 8, which sport bought me, and hopefully I can give something back. So yeah, I try and get involved in ones that I'm really passionate about, and not just be a tick box exercise, say, oh yeah, I can put that on my CV. I'm not about that.
Yeah, you want to add value and make a difference, I guess, which is
100%,
yeah
100%.
the most important thing. Um, so I mean, obviously, I'm glad that glad. It's amazing that you've survived, the breast cancer, and congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a horrible thing. Probably
Mm,
most of us on this call have been affected by cancer, friends and family. I know I have.
Lovely.
And yeah, thank goodness that you are here today and continue
Thank
to
you.
do good works, do very, very good works. What about women in the workplace? Obviously, you know, we're sort of financial services and the wonderful world of pensions. Um, do you think there's enough women in the workplace, and do you think there's enough women at the workplace at the right level? You know, there's always this hoo-ha about main boards and directors and FTSE 250 or FTSE hundreds. What would you like to see? What do you think about women in workplace at the moment?
Yeah, a representation is really key. It's got to reflect our society. But again, I go back to I've used it through this call on a number of occasions. It can't be a tick box exercise. What support and have you got the right people in those roles? So it's about the journey that women need to take. Do they get the opportunities to get to that next level? And once they are at that level, do they have the support of the CEO, etc., etc.? So I think for me, it's not the case of yes, we do need more women representation, but not just because it looks great on stats and when you're doing your data. It's making sure that that individual A is the right person and B that they have the support to get there and be at that top level to be able to make those right decisions and support their own teams as well. I mean, how many women have we got on the call? I can't really see.
Well, I think we've got Lorna. Say
Oh,
hi,
one.
Lorna.
So we've got a
Woohoo!
little bit of representation. Two, not
There you
too
go.
bad, not too bad.
Yeah.
But again, Lorna, it'd be interesting to hear your experiences and in your own environments. But yeah, of course, there's data out there that we need to that says there needs to be more representation. But for me, it shouldn't be just numbers. It shouldn't be a numbers game. It should be the right person is in that role. And once they do, because women do have skills. They absolutely do, but sometimes it is a confidence thing, or doors weren't open, or there were barriers, whatever it may be. There are a number of barriers that prevent them from excelling and moving forward. But I do think it is about that support. Whether it's mentoring, I mean, I've got a number of mentors, male and female mentors, who have helped me and given me that guidance. But it also is the responsibility of me as the individual to reach out as well. Things won't be always be given to us on a plate.
Absolutely. I'm going to put Lorna on the spot now. I know you've got a pussycat there, Lorna. Um, if you can you unmute Lorna and
Yeah, yeah, I'm here.
what would you say to Donna about women in the workplace at the moment? And obviously, you know, in our wonderful industry, but what's your view, Lorna?
I mean, it's interesting because I work at the PPF, so actually the PPF is a very woman-led organisation. Our chair, Kate Jones, and our chief exec, Michelle Osterman, are both women. We've got more than 50% women on senior management, but the rest of the industry is quite lacking, especially when you look at sort of the investment teams. But I think Donna is right. As a woman, I wouldn't want to be picked for a role just because I'm a woman. I would want people to recognize my skill set. But I think a lot of work needs to be done to get women into the right place so that they are able to put themselves forward or be considered for positions. And that does start out quite early on in people's careers, I think. So yeah, I think mentoring and informal networks can go a long way towards giving women the confidence that they are in the right place. And that sort of cultural side of organisations is really useful as well.
Yeah.
And just for Donna's benefit, the PPF is a government sort of lifeboat, effectively, based in Dingwall Road in Croydon by East
Oh, you're
Croydon
in
Station.
Croydon, up the
We're East
road.
Croydon, yeah. I mean, I'm
Oh,
currently
wow.
in Camden, but when
Oh,
I'm in the
wow.
office, I'm in Croydon.
You see,
Okay,
Croydon has
well, I
so
have
many
to come and
famous
see
things.
you.
There you go.
You should,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sure people would. We can do a little lunch and learn if you're interested.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, for sure. I'd love to.
Yeah, and
I'm
actually,
also an athletics fan. I've just come back from
Hey!
Monaco. I came back from the Diamond League in Monaco
Oh, very
this weekend. Yeah,
nice.
that's why I logged on. Hear about your running
Brilliant.
stories.
Awesome.
well, we should hook you two together because obviously, I think the PPF is and from what you said, Lorna, I know the PPF a little bit, but it's probably leading the industry in terms of the structure of your organisation, in terms of women in the workplace, and I think a lot of other pensions companies could learn a lot from the PPF. I think it's I think you're ahead of the times. If I was going to be blunt.
I'll share afterwards. We've got an article in Pensions Age about DEI on the back of our launch of our strategy, and I helped write it. Not that our chair didn't write it, but as a comms person, there was input from our team, and I think it's quite a powerful piece.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, we can get that to Donna.
Don't think it's online yet. It's going online in the next week or two.
Yeah,
that's well brilliant. Done. Good stuff.
Would you like to ask Donna a question, Lorna? As you've got an Olympic athlete on the call and you've just come back from Monaco Athletics, you are dead keen on athletics.
I mean, yeah, I'm really brown now as well. Well, a bit pink. It was hot. I don't know. I haven't really thought. I guess. I mean, you talked about, coming forth in the Olympics. I guess who are your idols? I guess you've answered that with Kathy Freeman and Liv Christie. I guess what if you could go back and do something different in your sporting career, what would that be?
Oh, that's a good one. What would it be? Well, to be fair, it probably wouldn't have been in sport. Yeah, it wouldn't have been in sport. I did want to be a doctor because I'm just really interested in how the body works. But the studying just really did put me off. So I was glad I was good at athletics. I think I would have gone down that route probably. Just helping people is my thing in some shape or form. And I think that's definitely been my calling. Just didn't expect it to be this route that I've gone down.
Do you act as family doctor in your family?
Yes.
That people always ring you and say, "Oh, I've got a sore throat. What can I do?"
Well, I tend to be right, which is really weird.
Spooky.
Without any qualifications whatsoever, I just come up and say, "Well, try this, try that." And yeah, I'm definitely the person everyone comes to for advice. And yeah, it can be overwhelming sometimes.
I bet. We've got about 10 minutes to go. If anybody's got any questions, please raise your hand. We'd love to hear any questions for Donna. I'm going to ask you and turn it around the other way and say, what is your impression, Donna, of the pensions industry?
Oh my gosh, one word, complicated. Well, you know what's really interesting? I remember a very young age when I was just starting to excel in my sport. I did have a financial advisor and he said to me, "You need to start a pension." I was like, "Really? I'm too young for that." And I'm so glad I did. It was the best advice I was given. But I haven't got a clue of anything. And the jargon, I'm just terrible. So for me, it's really complicated. But if I can have a conversation with someone, that's great. I'm definitely an individual that prefers to have a conversation than send me reams and reams of forms because it just goes right over my head. So yeah, I think pensions in general is complicated, but yeah, I got great advice at a very early age to get into it and get one.
Well, and before we started this session, we had a quick discussion about the pensions dashboard, which I was giving you an insight to. And I think for many millions of people, the dashboard is a great thing because it will hopefully show you, what you've got in terms of, potential state pension plus all your other pension bits and pieces. And people will go, "Oh, wow, I didn't realize I had that. I didn't realize I had the other." But as I said to you, Donna, I think the biggest thing that will come out of the pension dashboard is the fact that when the industry's designed it, it's going to talk about people's pensions, not pots. And I think that's going to be far more important for people to wake up and listen and go, "That's not a lot of money. That isn't going to be enough." And I mean, it could cause mass panic to a point, but that's my prediction. But Donna, I mean, do you agree that we are failing a little bit as an industry in communicating properly to non-pension people? Is that one of our failings, do you think?
Well, I am in the minority here because I'm not in the pension space. So yes, I have to agree with that. I think, I know the outputs from this dashboard will cause you all a lot of headache, but I think for the average person like myself, I think the dashboard will be welcomed absolutely for me from an understanding point of view and a communication, because with anything, you only, like a policy, for example, I do a lot of policy work. People don't know about the policies until they need it. And by then it's just so far gone. You're just like, oh my gosh, this is just overwhelming. So if this is going to help with that communication gap, then yeah, I welcome it hugely. But sorry that it's going to cause you a lot of work in the long run.
Well, there we go. Right, Stuart, you got your hand raised. Do you want to ask a question or?
I'd love to ask you a question. Donna, you're an incredibly positive person, but you've had a couple of setbacks in your life. You had your Achilles injury when you had athletics. You've had breast cancer at age of 36. For all us old folks on the call, you got any techniques and tricks to get over those setbacks? Because you're incredibly resilient. So have you got any techniques that you use that you can share?
Oh my goodness, Stuart, that's a brilliant question. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Some of them, the setbacks, people don't even know about because I just keep getting back up. And I was dubbed the grandma of athletics because I kept coming back. They're like, are you ever going to give up? I'm like, no. And I put that down simply because I knew what my goal was. And that's what got me up in the morning to say, fine, you can't change what's happened. You can only change what the future looks like. So for me, I do a lot of goal setting workshops with individuals, young people, businesses, and it's not that so much those long-term goals, it's the short-term ones. What can you achieve tomorrow? What can you achieve on Friday? And those small stepping stones, and that's life, you will get pushback. But it's your choice whether you choose to stay down or get up and keep moving and finding a different way. So I spent a lot of my life navigating and finding a different way to get around those barriers, because if I can't go over them, I'll have to go the long way round to achieve that. But it's that self-belief piece, Stuart. It's huge. You have to dig deep. Self-talk is a huge thing of mine. Even walking to work, I do a 45-minute walk to work, and I analyze, okay, what things are not great at the moment, Donna? Okay, there's an answer for that. This is what you need to do. And that just absolutely makes things, you see things a lot clearer. And it is tough, don't get me wrong. There are times where I'll be sat in a room thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to deal with this? But it's short-lived, because I will always try and find a positive to overcome that, whatever that looks like. And another thing, my coach was, he passed away in 2015, but he was brilliant at analysing my body language. So if I turned up for training, he's like, what's wrong with you? Sort it out. Go back out the door and come back in with a different posture. And just changing that just can help, standing tall, just smiling, just finding all the good things and what's going on in your life can just absolutely wipe out all those silly little things that we spend far too much time worrying about. And of course there will be challenges in life, we know that, but it's how you choose to address them. But meet them head on, just address them head on. But yeah, don't say you're old. We're never old, you're always young at heart.
A follow-up question, which is a bit controversial.
Yeah.
Drugs in sport. We've just seen two Wimbledon champions this week who've both been accused of drugs, whether it's right or wrong. You were going to be a doctor. What's your view? I know my view, but
yeah, I've always been a believer that of course it does depend on the circumstances, we know that, but in my day, random drugs testing they turn up on your door at my house unannounced, and you'd have to give a sample. Now in athletics anyway, you give 1 hour for the week, an hour each day of when you're available. So these missed tests, I just do not believe that that's an excuse anymore. In my day, there's more likely, because you could be anywhere, but now you are in charge of where your whereabouts are, and if you miss that test, there's no excuse for that. There's always going to be drugs. There's always going to be doctors out there that one step ahead of the testers. Unfortunately, I always say in athletics, I can only speak for, is that our testing system here is the best of the best. They're on top of it. In my career, I was always tested here at home, when I was abroad, and then I'd meet other athletes from other countries. Oh, I haven't been tested this year. I'm thinking, what's going on here? So for me, I think once you've absolutely been caught, you should be banned for life. That's the only way we're going to clean up the sport, or sport overall. That's the only way. Otherwise, they're just going to come back. They would have had the benefits from whatever they were taking, and that they'll probably win other competitions. So for me, once you've been banned, that's it. That's my view.
Yeah. It's a great response, Donna. It's a great response. Okay, we've got 3 minutes left. Any more questions from anybody? Thank you, Bob. Thumbs up, which is good. I was going to ask a little bit about your, D&I journey, and if you could name 2 or 3 things under D&I that we could do in our day jobs, what would the sort of top 2 or 3 things be that we as organizations should do at D&I? What would you say that would be?
Well, number one is things like this, bringing people together. I think the power of conversation, you can't beat it. If there's any senior leaders on this call, just taking the time to know your people, because sometimes you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, as it were. Just that body language piece, understanding who they are as individuals. If you've noticed an individual, for example, who's normally quite chatty and they come in and they're quite quiet, don't ignore that. That can really make a difference to them if you've shown an interest. That empathy piece is just so important. Just taking time to take yourself outside of your comfort zone, whether that is I always call it the coffee conversations. When you're going for a coffee, just meet someone and have a conversation with someone you've never spoken to before. How are you doing? Just being open to understanding other people's backgrounds, experiences. You never know how much that person could help you one of these days. You never know. So just taking yourself out of that comfort zone and just creating that space for people to speak their truth. This is a great forum. I love these kinds of things. It doesn't have to be a big event. It can just be on Zoom. We have technology now, just bringing people together to have different conversations.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Brilliant. Last minute, few other questions. You were talking about well-being and wellness.
Yeah.
When you're having your own downtime, what are your hobbies? What do you like doing? How do you relax?
How do I relax? Well, if you were
do you
to
never
ask
relax? I don't know.
that, well, I was going to say, if you were to ask my parents that question, she doesn't stop. I don't. I must say, I don't stop. Having said that, I do know when I'm running out of steam. And for me, it's important that I listen to that and listen to my body and say, time out, Donna, you need that time out. What that time out looks like is just spending quality time with my friends. Sometimes just being at home in silence is just the best ever. When no one's asking me a question, I don't have to speak, just that time out to reflect, which is why I walk to work in the morning, because that's my self-reflection time, and just to dissect what the priorities are in my life, what I need to be doing, and all the other small things will just happen in time. But yeah, I don't have much time to myself. I think the whole breast cancer journey that I had was a turning point for me. Is I was given another chance to live, and if I can live the best life I can, whether it's doing the best for myself or others, then I'm going to spend my time doing that. I always say to my parents, I will sleep when I'm 6 foot under, so I'll have plenty of time to sleep when I'm dead, so it's no problem.
Wow, amazing. I mean, you're an inspiration, Donna, I've got to say. Absolute inspiration.
Thank you.
And I really enjoyed today's session. Can everybody thank Donna for her time today? Some clapping, virtual clapping.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations on everything you've achieved. Thank you for joining Pension Playpen today, and we'll put the video up, and I'll send you the video anyway, Donna, on WeTransfer, and I'll hook you up with Lorna as well, because if you could go and see the PPF and be a star in Croydon and talk about old Croydon stories, that would be great as well. But no, we really appreciate your time and your input, and you're such an inspirational person, Donna. It's been brilliant. So
bless you. And Steve, I know if anyone wants to ask a question offline, I'm happy to do that, because sometimes an open forum like this is not comfortable for all. So, and anyone who listens to the video as well, just drop me a note.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I appreciate that. So,
all right.
But yeah, thanks everyone for joining.
All right,
and
thank
hope
you
you enjoyed
all.
today's session. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right, cheers, Donna.
Bye. Bye.